Ladies and gentlemen, today we have some insane meltdowns to take a look at. You see, just yesterday, everyone's favorite eye patch wearing rhino, Republican in name only Dan Crenshaw absolutely snapped on some leaked footage, but also MSNBC's Rachel Maddow broke down into hysterics on live TV. So folks, today we have a lot to talk about. So you know what? Let's just kick things off with our leaked footage from Dan Crenshaw in which he issues a death threat against Tucker Carlson. Take a look.
Have you ever met Tucker?
We've talked a lot. If I ever meet him, I'll probably kill him. He's the worst person.
You hear that? If I ever meet him, I'll freaking kill him. Now folks, keep in mind, Dan Crenshaw is a sitting member of the US House of Representatives and he's out here making death threats to members of the media. Not exactly a good look. But okay, so why exactly is Dan Crenshaw so bothered by Tucker Carlson anyway? Well, maybe this has something to do with it. Take a look.
The single most left-wing, truly left-wing member of Congress I've ever met personally is a Republican from this area who has no interest in the United States whatsoever and does not even pretend. I'm not going to name names. Oh, I think that's right. Yeah, it's Dan Crenshaw, the most liberal, most left-wing person I've ever met in the Congress. I'm just being serious. I mean, structurally, how does that happen?
Throw on some cowboy boots and you buy a shotgun and go out there and take a picture shooting at some pheasants and you learn how to speak the lingo a little bit, watch a little bit of Tucker Carlson. Now you know what to say, how to deceive exactly, and you find yourself in a position of power kneecapping people on the right time after time after time. Our controlled opposition problem is so bad, and that's why we always feel like we're playing tug-of-war with Whoopi Goldberg. It just doesn't feel like you can win.
Okay, so folks, was any of that incorrect? Here's my take. When we're talking about rhinos, Republicans in name only, we're pretty much talking about guys like Dan Crenshaw, who pretty much stands for the opposite of everything that President Trump stands for. Because as a little bit of a refresher, just in the last few years, Republican Dan Crenshaw has pushed for more troops in the Middle East, for more aid to Ukraine, to limit the Second Amendment, for harsher punishments for the J6 political prisoners, for higher pay for members of Congress, and he's called President Trump a scam artist. So folks, you tell me, does it sound like Dan Crenshaw is on our side? I sure don't think so. But you know what? Tucker Carlson actually responded to Dan Crenshaw's death threat in the funniest way possible. But before we take a look at that, I want to say real quick, if you guys enjoy the daily news coverage, please consider subscribing to the channel because it really does help a ton with my daily struggle against the YouTube algorithm. But okay, take a look at what Tucker Carlson had to say to Mr. Dan Crenshaw. Hey Dan Crenshaw, why don't you come sit down for an interview and we'll see how you do. I'll send you my address. So how did Tucker respond? Well, pretty much he just invited him on for an interview to talk things out. But hey, between you and me, I don't think Dan Crenshaw is going to take up that offer. It seems like complaining about things and making empty threats are more up Dan Crenshaw's alley. So hey, who knows where all of this goes for Dan Crenshaw in the future, but between you and me, I have a hard time believing that voters are going to keep putting up with this behavior in the future. But okay folks, now I want to move on to another story with all of you. As I'm sure many of you have heard by now, MSNBC's senior race baiter Joy Reid just recently had her primetime show canceled because of its terrible ratings. Quite literally, no one watched it. And so real quick, take a look at what Joy Reid's reaction was to getting kicked to the curb.
My show had value and that that what I was doing had value. And in the end, I try not to cry on TV.
Good news, Joy. You don't have to worry about crying on TV anymore because guess what? You're not on TV anymore. But folks, I have to say it's just so incredibly rich to hear her talk about how much value her show had when we all know that all she did was race bait and complain about white people all day. Seriously, there are quite literally hundreds of clips of her doing exactly that. So yeah, people got sick of hearing her complain all day. But okay, let's take a look at what Rachel Maddow's reaction was to all of this. I wonder if she'll have a reasonable, intelligent opinion.
I will tell you, it is also unnerving to see that on a network where we've got two non-white hosts in primetime, both of our non-white hosts in primetime are losing their shows, as is Katie Fang on the weekend. And that feels worse than bad, no matter who replaces them. That feels indefensible, and I do not defend it.
So there you have it. She's actually blaming Joy Reid's cancellation on racism. Imagine my shock. And now, folks, the comical truth behind all of this that Rachel Maddow herself doesn't even realize is that people are just sick of the left-wing media making every single thing about race. But really, to be a little bit more exact, pretty much their entire narrative is that white people are bad, white people are to blame for literally everything. Seriously, this is pretty much what it's like to watch MSNBC these days. Why are the clouds blocking the sun? White people. Why did my car tire go flat? White people. Why did I stub my toe when I got out of bed this morning? White people. And so you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. This is quite literally their entire shtick, and guess what? People are sick of it. Really, I think most people are just sick of hearing about race altogether. And that is why MSNBC is slowly dying. So hey folks, between you and me, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Rachel Maddow lost her show in the near future as well. But folks, here's the reality. Whether it's the insane progressives on the left like Rachel Maddow and Joy Reid, or the subversive rhinos on the right like Dan Crenshaw, they are all losing their minds right now. And so more accurately, I think we can make two new categories. The America First category and the America Last category. I'd like to think that we here are all in the America First category, but folks, do you think these two are here with us? Because me personally, I'm not so sure about that. I really do think that we're all witnessing a day-to-day, real-time changing of the guard, so to speak. Without a doubt, we're living in a time of great American revival. The America First MAGA movement really is incrementally returning this country to its former glory. Even if we still have some people like Dan Crenshaw and Rachel Maddow that are looking to slow things down. It really does seem like Americans just aren't tolerating this sort of behavior anymore, either from the progressive left or the fake right. And I mean, hey, we actually know how Americans feel right now because Trump's approval ratings are the highest they've ever been. And so you'd think that all of these people in the America Last category would get a grip and realize the way in which the winds are currently blowing, but no, they're just sitting there like sticks in the mud, refusing to get with the times and actually help the country get back on track. And so hey, just like we recently saw with Joy Reid's cancellation, I'd personally guess that all of these America Last people like Rachel Maddow and Dan Crenshaw will just continue to fall by the wayside, only being remembered as minor speed bumps in the road as we drive this country back towards success. Because here's the reality. Despite how much these America Last losers are complaining about things, this country is inarguably getting better by the day now that President Trump is back in the White House. But folks, I think that's going to be a wrap for today's video, so please go down below and drop a comment. Let me know what you think about all of this. Please like the video if you liked it. Hey, like I said earlier, if you enjoy the daily content, please consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps a lot. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and of course, as always, stay safe.